Are Travis Etienne Jr. and Breece Hall back to being strong every week running back plays in fantasy football? We tell you why the answer is yes, only on this edition of Locked On Fantasy Football.
You are Locked On Fantasy, your daily NFL fantasy podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Greetings, everyone, and welcome to another edition of the Locked On Fantasy Football Podcast. As usual, I'm one of your co-hosts, Vinnie Iyer. And when I'm not doing this, I'm running about NFL fantasy and betting for sportingnews.com. Our other regular co-host, Michelle Magdziuk, is out sick, so I'll be flying solo with our Week 2 running back ranking show. And don't worry, we have Michelle's rankings here. We'll go through them, compare them to mine, tell you the must-plays this week, the guys that we're pretty strong about, and then some guys you might want to think about avoiding in your lineups. We'll do that for you on today's show. Before we get started, today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new customers can bet just $5, and if your bet wins, you'll get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. So good deal there. We'll talk a little bit more about how you can get it on FanDuel later in the show. But let's dive right into the top of our running back rankings. No surprise here. We basically have the same top three, just a little bit changed. Derrick Henry, I have at number 1, Christian McCaffrey 2, and Michelle has it the other way, Christian McCaffrey, Derrick Henry. Then we have Bijan Robinson, and then we flip the next two guys. I have Jahmyr Gibbs at 4. She has him at 5, then Saquon Barkley 4, 5 for those rankings in that group. Now we look at the next tier of guys, and let's start with Bucky Irving. Bucky Irving, look, he was a little bit underwhelming. He did get the touchdown. He did get involved in the passing game, so that was a good development that he was doing a little bit more of that to pay off with his floor. I'm pretty high on him this week. He's number 6. Keep in mind that you had Kyren Williams. He's a strong, hard runner. He had 66 yards and a touchdown on the ground. I think Bucky Irving can add a little bit to that total with the receiving. Michelle's a little bit worried about the Texans. And look, I can see it that way as well, right? Where they're on the road in primetime. The Texans defense can be tough, but they are kind of weak against the run. They have a pretty good pass rush, but you can run on them. So that's why I'm sticking with Bucky Irving, because he's just going to get the volume that comes through. But maybe it comes down to a touchdown for that difference this week. Now, going a little bit deeper in the rankings, we have some of the usual suspects here with Josh Jacobs, both in the top 10 for us. Devin Achane and Kyren Williams were pretty close on as well. I have him at 8 Williams and 9 for Achane. Michelle's a little bit lower, 11 for Williams, 12 for Achane, but we're going there. And we're looking at James Cook. He's another guy that exploded here in week 1. Michelle's really high on him, all the way up to running back 8. I'm at 16 just because, again, he had such a monstrous game. I think it could come down to earth a little bit. It's not like the Steelers went nuts against the Jets in week 1. That's who the Bills draw on the road. So a little bit wary of that. So we're kind of trading places here with Irving and Cook. I like Irving's matchup a little bit better than Cook, but both are very strong plays this week. Cook had a big game after he got that contract. So he's locked and loaded into your lineup. Now let's look at Ashton Jeanty. Look, underwhelming first game. He only averaged 3 yards per carry. The Chargers are a tough matchup, so we're being a little bit careful with him. We have him at lucky 13 this week, so right outside the RB1s, and we might have to cool our jets a little bit until we see Jeanty kind of put it all together as a runner and a receiver. He only had 3 receiving yards in week 1 as well, so they weren't incorporating too much here for Geno Smith and that Chip Kelly offense in the first game against the Patriots. The Chargers are a little tougher matchup. The Chiefs could not run on them at all, so I think that's why we have to look at this. Jeanty coming down to earth, but he's definitely a volume-based play every week. Now, Breece Hall and Travis Etienne. This is very interesting, right? There were different reasons not to draft either guy before the season. Now, Travis Etienne, the concern was the competition, not just from Tank Bigsby, but Bashal Tutin. How quickly things changed. Travis Etienne was the lead back. He had a big run there against the Panthers, maybe motivated by his brother Trevor being on the other side, but he got the job done. He looked great. What happens? Tank Bigsby gets traded to the Eagles, leaving Bashal Tutin, a rookie with no real significant playing time yet, to be the backup. So Bigsby's out of there. So if we were feeling Bigsby could cut into Etienne, that literally cannot happen anymore because he's not in Jacksonville. He's now in Philadelphia and buried. Will Shipley's a little bit banged up there, so he's not going to have too much value, especially with A.J. Dillon there. His main thing is going to be return, so it's not very good overall for Bigsby and his playing time. But Etienne, it's great news. He's the clear feature back. They get the Bengals this week. The Bengals struggled with the makeshift committee of Raheem Sanders and Dylan Sampson and Jerome Ford of the Browns last week. And now Etienne is going to get a chance to get that receiving work, that touchdown, all that good stuff in that matchup against Cincinnati. So he's firmly up there. Look, we want to like him a little bit more, but we're at 14 on both sides here, Michelle and I, for Travis Etienne Jr. Now, Breece Hall, look, can we fully trust Breece Hall? Look, I think we're getting there. Michelle's got him at number 10. I'm at 15. You did have Braylon Allen score, which is a bit of a bummer, right? Like Breece Hall had such a big game, going over 140 yards rushing against the Steelers, but he didn't get the pay dirt there in the rushing attack. So we're hoping for that to develop. Here, the Bills, again, look at what happened. Derrick Henry gashed them. But Breece Hall is not the same type of runner. Derrick Henry has a history against the Bills, but Breece Hall, look, all the smoke screen about, oh, they love Braylon Allen. It's much like the Bigsby stuff in Jacksonville. We're seeing all that come across here. And Liam Cohen, the offensive-minded coach of the Jaguars, and then Tanner Engstrand of the Jets, basically they're going with their most talented backs. Like sometimes we have to go with that from the outside. So again, Breece Hall and Travis Etienne on the cusp for me for being RB1s that you can trust all the time. But I do love their matchups this weekend. Hall will be inspired. Again, Buffalo just got gashed. And then you had Etienne, who should be very busy in that game against the Bengals, which should be very high scoring and provide an opportunity for some big points either way. So that's some good stuff here that we're looking at. And again, some other rankings that we look at. Jonathan Taylor, a pretty good first game here with Daniel Jones. He's at 12 for me. Michelle has him at 15, so pretty close on that player. And James Conner, I have him at 11. I love the matchup at home against the Panthers. Michelle is very gung-ho about that matchup. James Conner at number 7. We're both pretty high on Chase Brown. She has him at 6. I'm at 7. So a lot of the usual suspects, but again, Etienne and Hall creeping up the charts here, probably going to displace some of those people in the top 12 that we're looking at. Now, we will get into the rest of our rankings here, and we need to find out, is Omarion Hampton going to get going? Because we saw the touchdown from Jeanty, but Hampton really did not do much in his opener, and now they're playing each other in the same game, the two title rookies. So we'll get into that and more of our running back rankings in our next segment. This episode is brought to you by FanDuel Sportsbook. The NFL season is here, going into week 2, and FanDuel's make sure you're ready for the next kickoff with a can't-miss offer. Right now, new customers can bet just $5. If your bet wins, you'll get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. Again, it makes every game more exciting to get in on FanDuel, whether you're watching your team or just keeping an eye on all your fantasy players. It's a quick, easy, and best way to add a little bit more energy to Sundays, Mondays, Thursdays, Fridays, whenever you're watching football. So are you ready to play? Download the FanDuel app now by visiting FanDuel.com to get started. That's FanDuel.com to place your first $5 bet. Again, FanDuel, get in on the action here ahead of week 2, which kicks off tomorrow with Green Bay hosting Washington. This episode of Locked On Fantasy Football is also brought to you by Supply House. When the opening whistle blows on a new repair, get your crew moving forward with Supply House. Order today and see parts on your doorstep tomorrow. More than 280,000 plumbing, HVAC, and electrical items from the most trusted brands in the business. The real-time inventory and honest lead times keep you from punting projects, while their industry-leading customer service always has your blind side covered. Need parts fast for a project? They're going to be right there for you at Supply House. They're going to supply you with what you need to get it done at DIY. Their Trademaster perks like priority shipping and dedicated support make the whole process smoother for you. Join the free Trademaster program today and score serious perks like priority shipping, lower prices, and a dedicated support line. Visit supplyhouse.com to sign up for free and use the promo code SHNFL5. That's SHNFL5 for 5% off your first order. It's only at supplyhouse.com. Real people, real service. All right, it's time to continue to look at our running back rankings here for week 2. And Michelle, again, get well. We'll see you hopefully in the next show here as we look at wide receivers. That'll be our next position we'll tackle here on Thursday. Omarion Hampton, look, this is a tough spot, but we think he could rebound against the Raiders. We're just a little bit wary. We both have him at 17, so this is a good spot. Chuba Hubbard, we both coincidentally have him right behind. I'm at 19, and she has Chuba Hubbard at 18. So interesting combination. And then Alvin Kamara also in that mix where Michelle has him at 19. I have Kamara at 18. So 17, 18, 19, very similar for us on the board. Let's take it here. I think Las Vegas, you can run on them. You saw TreVeyon Henderson put together a decent game against the Raiders, but Hampton is going to get more of an opportunity in this game. I don't know if it will be a back and forth shootout or the Chargers will be in a bit of a hole the way that they needed to throw with Justin Herbert. So maybe a little bit more controlling, a little bit more balanced of an offense. Alvin Kamara is going to get a ton of checkdowns here from Spencer Rattler against the 49ers. So that's going to be his big value in the potential touchdown every week. And Chuba Hubbard, factor in the passing game. Look, the Cardinals allowed a touchdown to Alvin Kamara last week. So that is good news for him. Now, TreVeyon Henderson is another rookie we're watching. So we're looking at Hampton and Jeanty. TreVeyon Henderson is a great matchup in Miami. Michelle has him at 20. I have at 22. I really like him as an RB2 this week. They'll get him going. Again, the Dolphins really could not stop much of anything with the Colts last week. So that's good news for him. And Bill, our friend, Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt, he's back in a big way, looking for a role here. Michelle has him at 21. I'm just a little bit down on him this week, but I do love him some Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt this week. The matchup is just too good here to get him out of your lineups. He's going to be part of what they do on Thursday night. So get him in there. Very good play right now. He's the main back here that's going to get the touchdowns and support him. Again, I have an RB27, a little lower than Michelle. Michelle is all over him at 21. Again, I still think he falls into the RB2 in a very strong flex play. And then the next thing we look at is the Broncos. I mean, this is a very hard backfield right now to navigate because RJ Harvey looked pretty good. He was explosive, but J.K. Dobbins got the pay dirt in that game. So what do we do here? I mean, I think RJ Harvey is the better runner, and I'm looking at the matchup against the Colts. Who did they struggle with last week? Devin Etienne. Who reminds us of Devin Etienne? RJ Harvey. So it's pretty close. So Michelle's still figuring out Dobbins. I think it's a matter of time before they kind of give Harvey the ball, kind of like Henderson over Ramondre Stevenson in New England. That's going to happen at some point. It might be a little bit slower, say, for the Caleb Johnson, Jaylen Warren situation, based on the coaches being kind of steadfast. But I think Sean Payton is going to look at RJ Harvey and say, we got to get this kid on the field more, especially now with Bo Nix struggling. They need a guy to catch passes at the outlet. I mean, Evan Ingram is banged up as well. So they really need some help here that you look at in the backfield. So, again, it's Indianapolis. It's a little bit easier. Tennessee, you still got the job done. So, again, the Colts can be had overall. So Harvey should have a good scrimmage day. Dobbins could get the pay dirt again, but I think this is a good Harvey coming out potential. Now, David Montgomery and DeAndre Swift is kind of the case of trading places, right? DeAndre Swift was a Lion, and David Montgomery was a Bear. Now, David Montgomery, tough first game, along with Jahmyr Gibbs, really. He just does not get the touchdown or the receiving to make up for those type of bad games. Now, they're at home against the Bears. Look, that combination of Jordan Mason and Aaron Jones was very effective against the Bears, so I expect there's going to be room. David Montgomery is always a better home player. It's also a bit of a revenge game. He is very good against his former team, the Bears. Now, DeAndre Swift was just completely ineffective last week. They had to throw the ball a ton. They couldn't really run out the clock and hold their lead in Minnesota. That's a big issue that they had because Swift wasn't effective in the running game. You had some banged up issues behind him. Roschon Johnson was injured. Then you had Kyle Monaghan also hurt, the rookie that they like out of Rutgers. So I don't know if the pivot's going to happen here. I just think it could be an ineffective Bears running game in general. That's the biggest thing that we're going to see with Ben Johnson is he's not going to have the same 1-2 punch that he had in Detroit with Jahmyr Gibbs and David Montgomery. It may not even be close. And Swift, again, they moved on from Swift in Detroit to get Montgomery. So he didn't fit that kind of offense. So we'll see if they make a move at some point to try to upgrade that backfield. But right now, again, it's a pretty bad running game. So I think I have to say I like David Montgomery more. Michelle has him at 22. I'm at 24. DeAndre Swift, we're both fading outside of the RB2s this week. Now, the big question everyone wants to know about the Seahawks backfield. You have Zach Charbonnet now looking better. He looks better every week he gets an opportunity. Last year he had to wait for Kenneth Walker injury, oblique or hamstring or something, and then he just took off and it had some explosive games, right? Well, this is a new coaching staff, folks, in terms of offense. Clint Kubiak, look, I think they were trying to smoke screen us a little bit with Walker saying that he was going to have a key role, and he was a starter, but man, he looks pretty slow and plodding. He's had a lot of nagging injuries that kind of put him in that position where Charbonnet is a put together back. He's got some fresh legs. So, again, I'm going to lean towards Charbonnet against Pittsburgh. And keep in mind, again, who was explosive last week was Breece Hall against that Steelers defense. Now, Walker running in the middle of that defense, not going to go for it. But Charbonnet maybe having some juice to the outside, catching a few passes. He's just a better back, I think, at this point. They're both same draft capital. So I think right now you have Charbonnet. I mean, going back to college, I think Walker was very productive at Michigan State. But when you look at Charbonnet's work at Michigan and UCLA, I think it was a more complete back when you look back upon it. So that's something in play that we're looking and seeing come to fruition here in the backfield for Seattle. So I would not play Walker. I'd feel pretty good about Charbonnet if I need to flex him, but that's about it. I mean, it's an ugly situation where you definitely cannot trust maybe an RB2 that you drafted in Walker. Now, I was high on Caleb Johnson, and I think his time will come. Jaylen Warren is a guy that gets banged up quite often, but right now, Jaylen Warren is the guy, and again, he's the versatile back. Christian McCaffrey had that versatile game, right, against that Seahawks defense. They're at home. They want to make Warren the main guy, at least while Johnson kind of gets complete here. And Aaron Rodgers probably has something to do with that, right, as well, in terms of he's got to trust the back and pass protection and catching those swing passes to really go for him. And Jaylen Warren is a little bit more seasoned in that capacity. So I think that's going to help Jaylen Warren stay on the field. At least early in the season, we'll see. He's a guy that has broken down before and been not there. But I think I like him quite a bit this week. I mean, it's very good for him. I have a 21 this week. Yeah, I'm being aggressive here with him for sure. And again, I think Jaylen Warren's going to get the majority of the touches. He's going to have a good game. I'm a little bit down on Charbonnet at 31, but I do think he's got to be considered that he's going to have to share a backfield, where I think Warren, there's still a significant split between him and Johnson, split in terms of the difference in how much they're going to touch the ball. So I do like Jaylen Warren a little bit more than Walker and Charbonnet this week, because on the same game, I just trust him to get the touches where I cannot exactly trust what they're going to do in Seattle with Kubiak with those two backs. So good luck with that. We'll see. We'll get more clarity here with the sample size in week 2. Now we have to get a little bit deeper, look at some sleepers, look at some guys that you're going to fade a little bit, some guys that were supernovas in week 1. Will they continue, including Mr. Javonte Williams? We'll do that to close the show in our final segment. All right, this episode of Locked On Fantasy Football is brought to you by Mazda. Mazda crafts cars for those who do more than simply move. Mazda delivers confidence with every ride, with more IIHS Top Safety Pick awards than anyone else in the industry as of August 2025. You can feel Japanese craftsmanship in every detail, from the metallic accents to available Napa leather upholstery. You can make everyday drives feel like anything but, from smooth handling to intuitive controls. Like the players we love with our fantasy football teams, we sweat every dealer and every detail, because when you make every move count, impossible becomes irrelevant. Mazda, move and be moved. All right, it is time to close the show, and get well, Michelle. Hope you'll be back here. But again, thanks for giving us your rankings for this week, and let's explore this a little bit more. Javonte Williams, we're kind of on a mind meld here. I got him at 28. He's got him at 29. I mean, this was a very anemic running game for the Cowboys. Javonte Williams fell into the end zone twice. That's exactly what happened. He took away Dak Prescott's potential short touchdowns. He was rather ineffective, less than 4 yards to carry. The Giants, look, they gave up some to Ja'Cory Cross-Game-Barrett in the backfield, but he's playable as a flex, but I wouldn't feel so confident because, again, this interior is still kind of working out with the Tylers there, and Tyler Guyton and Tyler Smith and Tyler – they have in the middle with Tyler Booker, so it's all Tylers, So we'll see how it all plays out with this running game, but again, he wasn't all that effective. I mean, touchdowns, yeah, you're always going to have a shot for Javonte Williams to fall in the end zone. So again, they should be scoring in this game, the Cowboys, but it also could be a lot of Dak Prescott just to put this game away and turn it over to the defense. But again, Williams should get his touches, but he's going to be very inefficient. You're going to be a bit touchdown dependent. Quinshon Judkins, this is making it very cloudy here. We had Raheem Sanders score the touchdown. We had Jerome Ford playing. Dylan Sampson was the scrimmage yards leader as a rookie. Quinshon Judkins could come into play. It's an awful matchup, really, against the Ravens. I know James Cook had a game, but the Bills' offense is built a lot different than the Browns' offense. So I'm not going to go chase what the Bills did to the Ravens. Run defense is also in a very tough spot. So I'm not trusting any of the Browns running backs this week. Sampson, Judkins, Ford, Raheem Sanders. When you have 4 running backs, especially on a bad team that doesn't produce a lot of offense, it's a situation to really avoid. Now, Nick Chubb versus the Buccaneers, or Jordan Mason against the Falcons. This is an interesting toss-up here. Now, I am really down on Nick Chubb this week. I'm all the way down at 39 on the board. Michelle is a little bit more optimistic. She has him at 33, and she has Jordan Mason behind him at 34. I've got Jordan Mason all the way as a strong flex play at 30. I thought he looked really good in the opener against Chicago, running well. It was a good 1-2 punch they had going with Aaron Jones, and the Falcons, I mean, not the greatest, right? Bucky Irving did compile a little bit, but I'm looking at the other side, the Buccaneers. They got Vita Vea in the middle. It's really hard to run. This line is not all that good for the Texans, and just not very effective. I know they were a little bit better in the running game than we expected in week 1. I think that's going to be the strength overall of their offensive line and their run blocking. But, man, I don't know how much I'm going to trust here the Texans going forward anywhere. I mean, the offensive line really got beat up by the Rams. We saw that kind of coming. We saw that with Seattle as well. Being up front and being weak and facing a pretty tough front is going to really make it tough. And the Ravens definitely have some guys up front there that can cause some problem for the Browns. You have the Bucs with Vita Vea in the middle. Look, the Falcons don't really have that player. Again, I think they overachieved a little bit against Bucky Irving. They also got in a position where Baker Mayfield had to throw from behind and was trailing, and Irving didn't get a chance to play from ahead. I think the Vikings are probably going to play ahead in this game with Mason. And I think if they do that, Mason is going to be the more valuable guy to close things out because they won't need to worry about pass catching all that much. Keep in mind, Mason didn't do that in San Francisco, and that's not going to be his role. He's going to be kind of the pounder to feed off Aaron Jones and what he does. So, again, that's how they're going to distribute the touches is becoming pretty clear in Minnesota. So, again, I think Jordan Mason has a higher ceiling. He could also potentially score a touchdown a lot easier than Chubb this week. So that's something I'm also considering. But, again, too bad Mason is not in Houston, right? I mean, this guy should be maybe starting and seeing some key touches here in a different situation. But, man, he was a good pickup, sneaky pickup by the Vikings because he's going to be an effective number 2 there that's going to really complement Jones well. Now, Tyrone Tracy and Isaiah Pacheco. What are you going to do with these guys? I mean, I'm down to 29. I've had some high hopes for Tyrone Tracy as the guy with the Cam Scatterbo banged up. Scatterbo hardly touched the ball, but again, Tyrone Tracy, bad team. This is terrible. I don't know if it's going to get better until Jackson Dart gets in. I mean, that's part of it. Russell Wilson has made this offense terrible, but the Cowboys' run defense is terrible now. They were trying to look at Jadeveon Clowney to add some help, but they were so bad against the run. And so he goes, that Tracy has a chance. If he can't get going in this game with Wilson, or if they don't stick with Wilson and go to Dart, if he can't do anything in this game, then I think Tyrone Tracy, you want to try to move and you want to go see if you can go pick up Cam Scatterbo more and more. Because, again, everything is desperate. Everything is opening it up here. If the Giants start 0-2, Brian Dable is going to be full evaluation mode. You want to see the people with Malik Neighbors try to save his job to see if Dart and Scatterbo can start to really have an impact here. So this is a big game for Tyrone Tracy because the matchup is so good. If he doesn't come through for fantasy or reality, this could be a pivot coming not only for the Giants, but for us as fantasy players. Now, Isaiah Pacheco, we just were not interested in drafting him at all. I mean, this Chiefs running game is pretty atrocious. Like, you could not get going at all against the Chargers and put Mahomes in a bad hole. They couldn't close out the game because they couldn't run the ball here with their guys. So, again, Kareem Hunt just looks like still a little bit better than Pacheco. I don't think Pacheco's the same since the other injuries. This is what happens with some of these 7th-round running backs. They show you why they're 7th-round running backs. They run hard, but they may not be as durable, which has been the case with Pacheco. He's a little bit one-dimensional as well. So we'll see if at some point they're going to look at the rookie there, Rashard Smith, if they want to get him going out of SMU and give him an opportunity. But the Chiefs just can't get this running game going. Again, Hunt is kind of touchdown dependent if he's going to put up some numbers here. But Isaiah Pacheco, I mean, just good God, if he's not getting the big touches there in pay dirt time, he really doesn't have a lot of value. And again, the Chiefs are playing the Eagles. I get the Eagles got gashed a little bit by the Cowboys, but again, we mentioned that Devonta Williams scored twice, and that's what you're counting on here with Pacheco if you're going to get it, because otherwise the Eagles were not all that bad against the run, right? So I just say, hey, the Eagles are probably going to shore things up. Jalen Carter didn't get suspended, so he's going to be in the middle of that defense, and I think that's going to be a tough matchup. Remember, it was a nightmare for that Chiefs front with Creed Humphrey and Trey Smith in the Super Bowl with those guys in the interior for the Eagles, so I think it could be a lot of trouble here for one Isaiah Pacheco. Rounding out, I think there's a lot of things that we see this week that we'll have a better idea of the trends. We'll get the better idea of who's leading what backfield. We'll see what the roles of guys like Trey Benson, Ramondre Stevenson, some of these extras are. But don't overextend. Don't reach here. Play your guys here that got you what you needed in week one, and stick with that until we see a change in these backfields. And again, as we get closer, we'll also get more of a matchup as we get closer to the second half of the season. We'll have better matchup data to say, hey, this is the running defense you want to exploit and all that. But early this season, you want to stick with the teams you trust most and the backs you trust most. All right, thanks for making Locked On Fantasy Football your first listen day. For your second listen, check out the Locked On NFL season previews. It's still going on. It's week 2 on Locked On NFL. Every division winner, breakout stars, and our Super Bowl contenders. Check it out only there on Locked On NFL with YouTube or wherever you listen to podcasts. It's part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. For Locked On Fantasy Football, this has been Vinnie Iyer. For Michelle Magdziuk, get well, Michelle. We'll see you next time with our wide receiver rankings. Bye, y'all.